Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to another Fireside Chat. My name is Bradley, and we are hosting tonight Matthew, who will be here soon. We have an excellent show for you. I don't even know what it's about yet, but it's going to be very good. Now, what we're going to do tonight is I'm probably going to have to cut a portion of this out because I guess we've had some technical difficulties tonight, and the show is not in my Dropbox. So hold on tight, and we will get this thing rolling here.
Hello.
There you are.
Is there anybody there?
Ah, good. All right.
Have I
Yay.
made contact? Hi, how's it going, man?
Good.
Oh, what a surprise. We're already live here?
Yeah. You said 9:30. I popped it in.
Well, we always plan on 9, but tonight got a little bit hectic. Essentially what happened, and I take full responsibility for this. It's all on me. I was going through, and I have one particular topic for this evening, and I thought I had seen a collection of clips kind of discussing what I want to talk about. And I'm looking all around the internet, and I'm like, I don't think there is one. Maybe I just have seen so much of it that it's in my mind, and I've convinced myself this video exists. So I said, okay, I've got to get this done. It's not going to take me too long, right? So I sit down, get a couple of clips going in the editing software, and before you know it, it's 9:30. I'm exporting the thing, and I just tell Brad in a message, hey, yeah, just plan on 9:45 because it takes a minute for our clips to go through when I send it to. Speaking of which, do you have all of the clips?
All the clips are imported. We are ready, set, go.
Perfect. Okay. I'm sorry, I don't even have the chat up, so I don't even know what the chat's saying. Give me one moment. I just want to pull up this chat. Wow, this is a wild thumbnail. Yes, we will be talking about the Pope at some point, but at the very end of tonight's broadcast, we have a couple other topics as well. Tonight's focus is mainly on the international realm because there's been a lot of happenings as of late, in the past week, even up to the past several months. I thought maybe it'd be nice for us to just catch up on and see what's going on with the world. Because we do know that if we're living in the end times and the deception is coming upon us, there is no one nation that's excluded here. There's no one government that is the sole problem. There's not going to be, just America and the papal states. They're going to be the issues. And everyone else is just going to be scot-free. And if you just get rid of them, everything will be fine. No. We know that the world will wander after the beast. And I know that there is some different ideas from different Christians as to what the identity of the beast may be, but we can all be in agreement that the beast gets its power directly from the dragon, and that's Satan. We can't question that. That's right out of Revelation. So knowing that, I think it's important as Christians to just keep an eye on these global organizations. And one such organization is aptly named the United Nations. I'm sure that we've all heard of the United Nations. Am I right, folks?
Yeah.
We know about the UN. Well, yesterday the UN did something a little unorthodox. They passed an article for the first time ever. They've never done this, and I think it bears a little bit of examination. So, if you want to just pull up
let's do it.
Article number 1 here. So this is from The Hill. UN Chief Gutierrez invokes Article 99 of Charter over Gaza crisis. So I'm sure that we also all know, in addition to the UN, there is a crisis happening on the Gaza Strip. In October, there was an attack, killed over 1,000 people, just bad stuff all around. The death toll has been mounting ever since. And even if you're not seeing it frequently pop up in your news feeds, this is a conflict that is just ongoing. We're going to take a look a bit about the conflict that's happening, kind of update ourselves on that, and see what steps are being taken by the UN to perhaps intervene in this crisis.
All right, is that a cue?
That is a cue. We're gonna go to the next thing.
Right.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez on Wednesday invoked Article 99 of the UN Charter for the first time, citing a severe risk of collapse of the humanitarian system in Gaza as the war rages between Israel and the militant group Hamas. In a letter to Jose Javier de la Gasca Lopez sorry,
No, I can't say it either.
Dominguez. Yeah,
Dominguez. Okay.
it's a long one. The current UN Security Council president, Gutierrez, said he expects public order to completely break down due to desperate conditions, rendering even limited humanitarian assistance impossible. The
Wait,
invocation
why?
of Article.
Why is it breaking down? You said the UN is. Wait.
No.
Let's rewind that real quick.
We'll back it up.
Yeah.
We'll dissect it a little bit. So what is being said by Gutierrez, the Secretary General of the United Nations, is that right now things are getting so bad in that area of the world that rendering aid is going to be impossible in the near future because things are just getting so bad. And that Gaza Strip, yes, it's not necessarily a large piece of land, but there are many lives there. There's an entire city that's there, and worst case scenario, every last person there is dead because of this conflict. They're unable to flee. There's just bad things happening all around. So that's what they are worrying about currently. And then if we'll read on just a little more, I'll show you what's going to happen, because they're going to invoke Article 99. The invocation of Article 99 allows the UN Secretary General to bring the attention of the Security Council to any matter which, in his opinion, may threaten the maintenance of international peace and security, per the UN. Gutierrez warned of an even worse situation unfolding in the besieged territory, including epidemic diseases. That should always raise an eyebrow, I think. And an increase in pressure to send displaced civilians to surrounding countries, which they're having a hard time doing, because even the nations directly in the area are refusing to take people in. It is a humanitarian crisis. By all means, it's not being handled well. So back to Article 99. Like I was saying, Article 99, in my looking over, it hasn't been invoked before, and it allows him. It's basically the first step, because he can bring it before a council, the Security Council, and can start saying, hey, this is a big deal. This isn't something we can just sit back and watch. We need to have direct intervention with what's happening, and that means blue helmets and blue vests. That's what the UN peacekeeping forces wear. You can expect to see them on the ground. And go ahead, Brad.
No. So that's, they're invoking basically like some kind of martial law type thing to bring in humanitarianism. I guess food, water, survival.
Essentially, it's not quite as extreme as that. It is, like I said, it's the first step in doing something more. I think it's important to look at, because this is the first time this article has been invoked to do something like this. And we know that we're living in an age of firsts, aren't we? Oh, we've never seen anything this bad happen. The Bible details a time of trouble like the world has never seen before. And all of a sudden, it's just these issues that are happening where extreme measures need to be taken in order to have a solution.
Yeah, that's
so. We'll read on with the article, because I do have some more of the article. Just want to go over it. The letter marks a rare and significant move by the UN chief, who has repeatedly called for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas amidst the rising death toll and destruction of Gaza, which has been controlled by Hamas since 2007. The war has now raged for nearly 2 months, with a week-long pause since Hamas launched a surprise assault into southern Israel on October 7th that killed more than 1,200 people, including hundreds of civilians. Israel has hammered Gaza in response as part of its pledge to destroy the group and its military capabilities. The death toll in Gaza has risen to more than 16,000 people, according to the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza. Israel's siege on basic necessities, including food, water, and fuel, further exacerbated the humanitarian crisis in the territory. So this is a pretty, I think, a staggering amount of loss of life. You have in that single day 1,200 with, as I said, hundreds of civilians. I don't know if anyone was unfortunate enough to see some of the photos or some of the videos that came out of the incident, but it was horrific. The initial attack was, and also what's happening in response to the people who happen to be in the Gaza Strip, because I think there are a lot of innocent people essentially just caught in the crossfire of these two powers going at each other and having this war. 16,000 people. We think about that over the past 2 months. That's over 250 people a day dying from what's happening there. And if they start running out of food, if they can't feed themselves, if they don't have access to clean water, people are just going to be dry. It doesn't take a bullet to kill you at that point. It doesn't take a missile to kill you at that point. You're not going to be able to sustain life. So I think we're just beginning to really see things pick up and get worse in this particular part of the world. And what kind of worries me is the idea of these test runs and these test cases that the powers seem to do. They will enact something on a small scale and then bring it out onto a larger scale. And there's always these test runs. And we think about people. We think, oh, there are wicked people behind this. But really, we know we're wrestling against the powers and principalities. We're wrestling against those fallen angels who are here and they're causing trouble. And their goal is to create as much chaos and human suffering as possible, that we collectively cry out for a savior, and Satan can answer that call.
Yeah.
That's where we're headed. Do you have any ideas?
No, that's fascinating. And so right now we're seeing the beginnings of a major catastrophe. And I see exactly what you're talking about here as they're fighting over there. We went over an article that was kind of a transcription, I think it was, from the occult, talking about the World War III and how it starts and how it's all meant to just have Israel and all this stuff destroy itself.
The Albert Pike and Massini letter is what you're referring to.
And to everyone that has studied this is credit, they brought out that there are some strangeness about it, that we can't be absolutely sure this is actually truth, but it is interesting. That's all I got to say, because it does have some things in there that are fascinating. So what you're saying is what we see right now is possibly a test run of how the rest of the world will be one day.
Yes, I think so. I think especially with the unrest that is happening all over the world, and it just kind of pops up sporadically. It's wild. I mean, I'm a first generation American. My father is an Irish immigrant. So
okay.
It's been really weird to see Ireland in the international media, because they have had riots over there now because of a terrible thing that happened, a stabbing of school children. And they were withholding the identity of the perpetrator. And the suspicion is that anytime it's someone that has been taken in as a refugee into the country, they'll withhold their identity and they'll withhold the motivations, because they think, well, we don't want people to get the wrong idea about what's happening here. But it's having the reverse effect. But by the news media and the government withholding the information, it's just causing frustration, and people are now acting out and having riots, essentially burning cars and buses in the streets. It's really it's not a good situation. Ireland has had a history of political struggles, to say the least. I don't know how many people in America maybe know about that. I'm sure some of our audience that is from other countries, maybe they have a better grasp on it. But Ireland went through a time of troubles where there were car bombs going off every week, every other week, and it caused billions of dollars in damages. Their goal was to financially cripple the United Kingdom to try to have Irish independence. And there was loss of life. In addition to that, there were some bombs that went off that took civilian lives. But their main goal was to to make it so intolerable for them that they would have to come to a compromise. It was terrorism is what it was. But and that was spread throughout this kind of first world country. Well, if you look at the footage from Israel and you see, and I'm not really advocating for this, I'm going to speak to you as someone who has seen it. When I looked at that footage and saw the neighborhoods that the Hamas fighters were going through and were attacking the civilians, it could look like the neighborhood that you live in. It could look like that suburban neighborhood right in town. And that's disturbing because it shouldn't be too disturbing. It should disturb us no matter where violence is taking place, whether it's in a first world country or a third world country. But there's something, I don't know, especially jarring when you're in your situation. I think by and large, people who are in the first world countries, very comfortable. We have the standard of living. We know that there's bad things that could happen to us, but we put it out of our minds on a daily basis. And I think as Christians, we should no longer live that way. I think we have to embrace reality and start depending on God even more, because ultimately he's the only one who's going to get us through this. It's not going to be the infrastructure we have, the electricity and the clean water and, oh, I got my cell phone and, oh, I have the government that'll look out for me. More on that in the next segment, by the way. It's going to be a total reliance on God that gets us through this. And that is why it is ultimately the trial for humanity to be put on. Because every single thing in the media, every major outlet is going to be telling you this is how it is. And then you're going to have your Bible, and it's going to have that completely different point of view. And you're going to have to make this decision. Which one do I embrace? Which one do I go with? And ultimately, how do I follow through on these times that we're living in?
Very good. Very, very good. I have a lot to say about that, and I want to continue to talk about that. But my dog just let herself in again. I got to figure out how to get that knob fixed so she doesn't just jump up on the knob and turn it. So I'm going to let you take this.
One of those nights.
I know it.
It's one of those nights. Don't worry about it. I'm just grateful. Thank you for everyone watching live. Thank you for everyone who's watching this recorded and bearing with us. I know tonight feels a little sloppy, but it's a good show. I do have some good material lined up.
It's getting very cold in here. I can just jump out while you do the next thing. I'm going to switch us. Woo!
Oh, yeah. Well, no.
That's what it sounds like to me when article. I do that.
It's all right. Just pull up the next panel for the article.
Okay, here we go.
And shrink me. I don't like being this big.
I'll be right back.
Thank you. Okay. It's just you and me, everyone. While a week-long truce last month allowed aid to enter the territory, fighting resumed last week. And Gutierrez said the current conditions make it impossible for human operations to be effectively conducted. While delivery of supplies through Rafah continues, quantities are insufficient and have dropped since the pause came to an end. We are simply unable to reach those in need inside Gaza, Gutierrez wrote. Gutierrez called on the Security Council to press to avert a human catastrophe and reiterated his urgent appeal for a humanitarian ceasefire to allow the means of survival to be restored and the safe and timely delivery of aid to Gaza. So, yes, there was a ceasefire, as this article is mentioning, a week-long ceasefire. People were able to get some supplies, and maybe that did stave off some of the human toll, the life toll that we'll see in the near future. But I just can't help but think, every time I read stuff like this, it's a manufactured crisis. And when I say it's manufactured, I do mean it could be done through human agencies, absolutely. But again, look at that angle. We know there are fallen angels behind the scenes. We know that Satan and his host are working actively to sow these seeds.
We struggle not against flesh
for
and
their
blood.
arrival. Exactly. Yeah. That's really, I always think whenever we're looking at this type of a thing in politics, that's why we can't get embroiled in it. Personally, I don't have a political party that I'm affiliated to. I used to have very strong political opinions. Those all went away when I stepped in and I asked Jesus to be king, because now I am part of a kingdom. I am part of a government because in Isaiah it talks about the government shall be upon his shoulders. That's an awesome piece of scripture, which just describes Jesus also as the Prince of Peace. There is a political aspect to being a part of the church. There's a part, Jesus is a political figurehead, and not in the way that we think of a political figurehead necessarily, but he's a king, and he has a kingdom, and he has a domain, and he has subjects. And what's so cool about it too is I always like, he's the King of Kings. And, here on earth, we often think, okay, so the kings of the earth are subject to him. But also, if he's King of Kings and you're going to receive a crown, then Jesus is going to be your king, and you will be made a king in your own stead. It's a really cool concept. It's part of the promises of God. We've got a lot to look forward to. That's another thing I want us to do. Whenever we're going through these hard times, keep your eye on the prize, because we're running a race here, and there's going to be some slips, some trips, some hurdles. You bet. There's going to be bends in the road. Sometimes you're going to be able to see. You're going to be at the top of a hill. You're going to be able to see that finish line so clearly. Yeah, I can't wait to get there. You're going to run a little bit more. All of a sudden, you're down in a valley, and there's tall trees around you, and it's dark. And you're saying, where's that finish line? I know I saw that finish line, and it was so clear to me, and I was really looking forward to getting there, and now I can't see it, and it feels so far away. This is always a chance for us to be sharpened. This is a chance for us to suffer with grace through these hard times. I think I have one more piece of this article, by the way, unless there's something you want to add.
I just want to comment on what someone said in the chat. Tiny Tabernacle said there is a greater politics in the spiritual world, where Christ versus Satan, and not the politics of this world. And I think he's exactly right, because we see some of those politics in Job as and when they struggle over Moses' body too. There's definitely controversy going on, and there's definitely some rules of engagement that have to happen when dealing with this stuff. And we kind of see through a glass darkly right now. We don't even see everything that's going on. We don't have a broad clue of the entire picture. We're given a small glimpse of it, and we can figure out just enough to get our lives on the straight and narrow. Not that we do anything of it, but that it's Christ working in us, and praise God that He's able to do that. And I'm looking forward to learning about all that. But I can't imagine the politics involved in all this stuff right now. Just the plays on words and the mincing of ideas that's going on just in the spiritual realm. If this is how it is here on earth, we're watching some of the GOP people talk, and the different debates that are happening right now, and I'm just like, wow, we got some issues going on here, and this is just earth. I can't imagine what's going on, and with these insanely knowledgeable spiritual beings. Anyway, I'm completely off course and rabbit trailing, but I appreciate what you're saying, Matthew.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think, and Tiny Tabernacle is right. It's a reflective kind of thing. There is a battle going on of good and evil in the spiritual world, and it's also playing out here on earth. And it's important. I just think it's so important to contextualize everything through that lens. If you can start to do that, I think it will take a lot of the weight off of your shoulders, where you're thinking, oh, humanity, what are we doing so wrong? Yes, we have issues. We're sinful, we're fallen, we're in need of a savior. But certainly, go back to Genesis 3. There was a serpent in the garden. There was a liar from the start, and he was there to help, just essentially not even to help, I think to orchestrate this fall and to cause sin against God in humanity. I believe there was already a rebellion going on. If Satan was there and he's in opposition to God, then he's got to have some angels that were on his side. He's got to have some beings that were going, this guy's making some good points, I think. God, well, what about this? What about that? And so we have to play it out. It's essentially God is on trial, and Satan in a way is on trial, and you're on trial. It's a whole period of trial and judgment where we can all, with the facilities that God has given us, take a look at the situation and make sense of it. God wants us to reason through it. So I think the best way for you to reason through it is to always keep this greater conflict in mind.
Absolutely.
I was mistaken. There isn't another part of this, I think. This was the last piece of this clip, or last piece of this article. So, unless you have any other things to add
No.
to the conflict, I think that, yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Is this the last piece? Or do you want me to skip ahead?
That was the last. No. That was the last article. But don't skip ahead because it's a clip. I got a clip next.
Okay.
I was just looking through the chat really quick to see if anyone had anything else. Hans said occultists believe the same sort of as above, so below. In a way, they do. There's their understanding of as above, so below is also that they have powers and can manifest things to happen. There's a bit more to it, but I do think that the best way to poison someone is to wrap it up in that sweet coating of truth, or at least give it the appearance of truth so that it can be swallowed more easily. But yes, you'll see that often. Gnostics, I mean, the whole idea of Gnosticism is an inversion of the Bible, so they have to be familiar with the Bible on some level, right? Yeah. How can they invert it if they don't know the truth to invert? Yeah. Well, we have to be careful, and I think that's part of why personal studying of the Bible is an important thing, and using that as our frame of reference. So, that being said, I am now going to move on to this next topic, and this is probably the meatiest topic I have for you folks tonight. We're going to talk a bit about this clip, first of all, that was making its rounds, and I think it was alarming some people in some different spheres. But I just want to give this clip to you raw as is, because this is how I saw it, and I think the majority of people maybe saw it. And then I'll give a little bit of context behind it. So let's show, and then I'll tell.
We're undergoing a soft coup, and the idea is to create a whole new set of laws and ignore the existing human rights laws and other laws under the pretext of pandemic preparedness and the biosecurity agenda. The WHO is developing through all its nations, but with the WHO Directorate in the United States in charge, a pandemic treaty and amendments to the existing international health regulations that will remove the human rights protections currently embedded in the IHRs, will enforce surveillance, censorship, get rid of freedom of speech, require governments to censor and only push a single narrative. Also, we will be subject, if they can make this work, to vaccines developed in 100 days, which the organization CEPI is planning to do. And one of the people who founded CEPI was Jeremy Farrar, who is now the chief scientist at the WHO, to bring this forward. Other things that the amendments do is to bind the states so they're no longer recommendations but enforceable edicts, provide a liability shield, get rid of intellectual property rights, move supplies from one country to another, enforce digital passports, and the Director General of WHO can demand that a pandemic or a potential pandemic exists. He can just declare it with no standards, and then countries around the world will have to obey.
Is this a movie?
Also, the WHO will tell you what drugs you can and can't use in your nation once a pandemic is declared. Obviously, the budget will increase. One Health is another part of this. One Health is a concept that was created to enable the WHO, with these documents, to take over jurisdiction of everything in the world by saying that climate change, animals, plants, water systems, ecosystems are all central to health. Also embedded in this concept is a peculiar notion that humans are no longer of greater value than animals.
What? This is insanity. Did I dream this? What's going on here?
No, this is not a dream, Brad.
What?
This is reality. This is a video that was making its rounds, and this often happens. A video gets put out without really much context, and people are just kind of left like you are. It's in a situation where your head is spinning, and you almost don't know what is real and what is not. There's so much being shotgunned at you, but that's why I told you it's a meaty segment, because we're going to have to break it down. We're going to have to do a little bit of investigating into this. So first of all, that woman's name was Meryl Nass.
Humans are no longer of greater value than animals.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just amazed by that last. I want to make sure I heard that right. Humans are no longer. Well, okay. All right, Matthew, break this down before I break down.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Right. So this particular clip was taken from a summit that happened, and it's known as the International Crisis Summit. Now, at the International Crisis Summit, there are different voices from the medical community that come together, and what they say is they want it to be an uncensored, open area where anybody can get up and speak their mind if they're a medical professional. So let's pull up this next slide.
Okay, all right.
Because this is the mission statement for that group, right? So here's the mission statement. Are we going to get like flagged if I use certain words? That was part of my hesitation too, of going like, I don't know how this works on YouTube. I should have warned you. We could have rumbled this as well. Anyway, I'm just going to say the sickness, the bad thing, right? So the sickness has affected everybody globally, and the world has been working collectively and vigilantly to put an end to this pandemic. See, is that another word? It's just a word, right? It's so annoying. The International Sickness Summit was created for doctors, lawyers, and professionals from all over the world to unite and discuss their experiences with the sickness. This is an uncensored and safe haven where they are able to gather, share, discuss, and analyze their findings in order to find safe and effective treatments for the sickness and all of the complications that surround it. These medical professionals sacrifice everything and work tirelessly to help put an end to this bad time. The sharing of the data and research from around the world is instrumental in finding effective treatments for the sickness, and it is pivotal in getting us all back together safely again. This cross-border initiative has now become a periodic event that will encompass other topics in an effort to shed light on the facts that mainstream media hides and social media censors. The world has endured the wrath of the sickness, and now we must help stop similar crises before they are made to happen again. So you can see to happen again. So you can see that this particular summit that they're calling together, it's kind of a pushback to the major medical community at large. I mean, I read a mainstream article about the summit, and they were just saying, oh, the known misinformation spreaders were there, and they shouldn't have been allowed to speak, and they were given platforms that they shouldn't be allowed to have. The way I look at it, I think that everybody needs to be able to voice whatever it is that their opinion is. It's something that even I, as a Christian, I'll watch videos from Christians who I disagree with on doctrine. It doesn't matter to me. It's like, you're here on YouTube. If you can do it in a respectful manner, if you can back whatever you're saying with the Bible, then I'll listen to you. I think it should be the same way in the medical world as well. We should be giving an ear to one another and reasoning with one another, because if we take that away, what happens, right? What happens when people are no longer able to freely express themselves, Brad?
Well, you have China. Sorry, you have
that's one version. I think
you have a dictatorship. Yeah. I think you have a dictatorship, or you have what happens in the opposite. You start having anarchy because there's a breakdown where there's so much civil unrest that a dictatorship can't necessarily manifest. And I think we see that. I think we're seeing both sides of those extremes. So I do think that it was good that she was able to speak her mind, even if a lot of what she was saying seemed to be kind of coming out of left field, seemed to be a little bit strange to. Yeah. And I've met people that have extreme views like this. So in other words, this wasn't a political leader of any kind, any country, or a WHO
Right.
leadership. This was a medical professional that wanted to express her views on how things should be done, ignorantly. I'm going to add that one word in there. But is that your understanding? That's who this was?
Yes, and I actually have here on our next slide. This was interesting to find out. So this particular doctor.
I'm working on it. You surprised me.
Oh, no problem. Yeah.
Okay.
I went to Maine.gov, which she's a doctor from Maine, and you can see here directly from this page, she has undergone disciplinary action down there back in 2022, in January, and an external order was also placed in February. And you can see there that her license is not active as of that adverse action that was taken regarding her license. So she gave this talk earlier in May of 2023, and her license has been suspended. She's involved in a legal battle. She is going out and suing this board because she believes that what they did to her is illegal and unfair, and that she had a right to essentially treat her patients the way she was treating them, which was she was prescribing medications essentially that went against the mainstream narrative and was advising people that they didn't necessarily need to take a solution that was offered.
Was it a Fauci ouchie solution?
A Fauci ouchie.
Okay.
A little jabby wabby.
Okay.
But she was against that, and she got slapped down for it. And so now you're seeing her. This is after a full year of having her license suspended, and she's upset. And it seems that she's moved further, and she has almost this disillusionment with the whole process now because of the experiences that she underwent during the pandemic.
Wait, so
I have to say the word pandemic.
Because
the next article has pandemic a lot, and I'm not censoring it. What if we get slapped or something? YouTube is so stupid when it comes to this type of a thing. Like I said, you have to let me say what I want to say.
We should probably start. I wonder if we should just start the one on Rumble, just in case we do go down. We can just continue rolling. I know that right now I'm on warning. I have it warning for the next 4 weeks, and if I get any other strikes, I mean, we're going to be down for a week. We won't be able to do a show. That's how it works. So, and then you get 2 more, your channel is deleted. But it goes away after about 3 months. And so I'm kind of waiting for the warning to go away so we can be a little less concerned.
Well, I wish I had known that because I wouldn't have necessarily done this at this time if it was sensitive. But I feel like it needs to be talked about. That's what's so frustrating. It's like this. I want to bring this out. This is something that I think is worth discussing. I think that it definitely pertains to Bible prophecy, the end of days, all of the nations of the world, all the tongues coming together as one and marching forward with a single agenda. I mean, this is it. This is a big part of it as well. So, I mean, if that happens, it happens. But at the same time, you could catch us on Rumble for a week. That's how it's gonna work. But
I'm just gonna add to that. If we don't have any shows at normal hours, everyone's just gonna have to know. Yeah, we'll be on Rumble. Go to strangenormal.org. Click on syndication, which means where we all go to, and it will guide you to the right location. So anyway, we're just gonna roll with it and see what the hammer comes down on.
Yeah. Let's see. We have a person in our chat saying I'm an ER doctor, and they sent me a nastogram from my board certifying agency ABEM that said exactly what's going on with this lady. The email is in Discord. Ooh, okay. It's good to know. I'll have to check that out. I can't believe I missed that. Okay. Let's continue on, and we'll get into this article, because now I want to start getting into these claims, right? I want to start getting into this this stuff. So
the sickness.
This
are you down with it?
I am certainly not down with the sickness, and I am also not down with the solutions that are being given out for the sickness either. But here it is from GPB News. This is an article titled "The World Hopes to Enact a Pandemic Treaty by May 2024. Will it succeed or flail?" Flail. I don't know why they said flail. Flail, like a fish out of water?
Yeah.
This is their article, not mine. I didn't write it. You can take it up with Ari Daniel if you want to. He's the guy who wrote it. At the height of the pandemic, world leaders proposed a bold idea. They envisioned a pandemic treaty that would oblige countries to work together to prevent further health emergencies like, I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say it. COVID. I have to. Like, it's at this point. In other words...
Uh-oh, they're cutting you off. They're cutting you off.
No way.
Your internet's going now. Look what you have done, Matthew. Okay,
so
it's
funny.
better now. It's better now. They were just trying to. It was the FBI on the other line. They were trying to hit the button as you were talking.
Yeah, as soon as I say it, yeah, how coincidental.
Okay, go for it.
In other words, to cooperate in a way that didn't quite happen when SARS-CoV-2 struck. The World Health Assembly set the deadline for such an accord, May 2024. The idea was to light a fire under the participants and have the accord ready when the assembly convenes in Geneva. Kate Dodson, Vice President for Global Health at the United Nations Foundation, agrees that it's a hard process. Member states are coming into these negotiations from really different experiences, she says. I think there's a trust defect and some really different views about what are the best ways to try to better prepare the world for the next pandemic.
The next pandemic?
Oh, did you catch that little thing right there? The next pandemic. We'll be talking about that more. Just talk about it a little more. The declaration asserts that a strong pandemic response requires urgent and continued leadership and global solidarity. Okay. Dodson, who's attending the General Assembly this week, heard from member states that they're committed to developing a pandemic treaty. They don't want it to flail. I guess this is her. She said flail. That was a resounding message. So, Ari, you're off the hook. It was a quote you're working with. Kate, it's fail, normally. I don't think we just call it flail. Yeah. But thoughts on this little portion of the article?
Yeah. So what really bothered me is that I don't want to read into it too much. You can get pretty conspiratorial if you read into this and say, well, look at that. They're planning for it. I mean, it could be just that they want to prepare for everything that's coming down the line. But why would you say it like that? That's kind of weird.
It is kind of weird, especially in light of that kind of totalitarian picture that was painted for us with that clip, how there are all these kind of things that want to be enacted, liberties that they want taken away, and all in the name of keeping us safe and to be better prepared. We'll read on with the article. The question is, asked Dr. Githinji Gitahi, CEO of Amref Health Africa, do you profit from it until the end, or is there a moral right to allow other people to access it so that they can also manufacture this thing that is actually going to save human life? He's referring to a solution that could be put out. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, who's Director General, made public remarks after the adoption. The declaration is a strong signal from countries that they are committed to learning the lessons from the COVID-19 pandemic, he said, and to strengthening the world's defenses against pandemics. But Gadahi says the declaration is purely aspirational without any clear commitments or calls for real accountability. I am concerned that we will not have a bold pandemic treaty, he says. Then, in the next pandemic, whatever we had in COVID will be repeated word for word. But there are still optimists in the crowd. The declaration may not be perfect, but Mike Ryan, executive director of WHO's Health Emergency Program, likens it to a New Year's resolution, in this case, a kind of promise to take action. The declaration itself won't solve anything, he says. It's a piece of paper, but sometimes in life, just sometimes, you make that promise and you keep it. And we owe it to the people of the world to keep that promise.
Okay. So the use of the word bold there reminds me of when the Pope used the term, we need something with real teeth. He's saying something there without saying something. And using funny language to emphasize something without actually making the news organizations go wild, I think. That's interesting to me. Bold.
Yes. And talking about the promises and keeping the promises as well. I mean, it always, whenever I hear about promises now, God is always the first to come to mind, because God is the only one who keeps his promises and fulfills them completely. And it's funny that they kind of want to have the same moral standard as God. They're saying, yeah, we need to make this promise and we need to keep it. We need to keep the people of the world safe with our promises. I think there was also an interesting phrase that popped up again. I think I saw a little alarm going off in your head, because it's another time we're seeing it a second time, aren't we? What is it?
I'm looking.
What is it? Where is it? What do you see? You see it? Do you see it?
Remind me.
It's right there. It's where Gutierrez says that then in the next pandemic, whatever we had in COVID will be repeated. It's this idea of the next pandemic. The next pandemic.
It's like they're saying there's going to be another pandemic coming out, so we better prepare for it. And there's I mean, granted, there always has been pandemics in lives. You know, there's Black Plague that killed a lot of people and stuff like that. But wasn't that from rats? I think it was rats spreading a plague of some kind. But I think I would be surprised. I mean, if we get another one that came out and was going to be worse. Right now, we're playing with genetics, and it's been pretty obvious that Wuhan and all this other stuff was a part of this whole thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if right now we are playing with the viruses and trying to see what we can do as far as military aspect goes. And we're blowing ourselves up by doing it. So whether it's another country that's messing up or it's us, I don't care. You know, something's happening and we don't need to touch it anymore, but we're going to continue to reach our hand in the incinerator. I don't know what's going on.
The garbage disposal.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about, right? Yeah, the incinerator. Yeah, we kind of have to at a certain point. It's like it's this weird spirit, I think, that's taken hold of the situation. Well, I have a clip here for us to watch. It's from CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network, because they were covering a bit of this discussion or this idea, and I thought it'd be nice to watch it. And again, like I said, everybody keep a red flag at the ready, because we're going to see if we can. It's like a fun game. This is like when you were a kid and you were watching educational content and you had like a word of the day. Well, this is like the phrase of the day. So if you hear something and you go, oh, wait, I think I'm hearing this a lot, you just post a red flag in our live chat, would you please? Just go ahead.
All right.
We have never before in history, in 5,000 years of recorded human history, we've never seen this level of authority given to an international global body.
Those supporting this authority for the WHO, such as top advisor Dr. Abdullah Asiri, say it's necessary to protect the world's population, even if it means restricting some of their liberties.
The world, however, requires a different level of legal mandates, such as the pandemic treaty, to navigate through a particular pandemic, should one occur, and it will. prioritizing actions that may restrict individual liberties, mandating and sharing of information, knowledge and resources, and pandemic control efforts are all necessary during a pandemic.
Let us seize this opportunity to foster international collaboration, ensure global health security, and protect the lives and the well-being of all people beyond boundaries.
And I wish to stress, from our perspective, the quicker we can come together, the sooner we will all be safe. We know that the challenges we face won't be solved by a few leaders or a few countries, but by the world coming together and fighting for what's right.
You can't do this. You can't override a constitutional right in the United States by some exterior council of countries saying, "Hey, by the way, we're coming together to agree that you need to overwrite that stuff that you all people decided on." Who does this? Who does this? And then who's going to enforce this? And then after it's enforced in the U.S., they're going to come together and say, "Yeah, actually, that was unconstitutional and we shouldn't have done that." That's happened over and over and over again. And they're going to, I just, that blows my mind. It's like a workaround. They're trying to work around and say, okay, everyone agree that we need to override the United States and whoever else. I'm sure other countries have constitutional rights
too. It's not just
too.
the United States. Yeah, it's all the governments that sign on and agree to this, and it's all being put forward as, well, we need to be ready. We have to be prepared. And I think that a couple of people caught on to it in our chat, because I saw those red flags go up when that man said, "The next pandemic."
Yeah.
They said it again.
Mm-hmm.
The next pandemic. It's all kind of hinging on this idea that there will be a next pandemic, and that we're going to use the last pandemic to learn, because we did such a bad job. Not in that we were too restrictive, but that they weren't restrictive enough. It needs to be more restrictive. It needs to be faster. It wasn't fast enough to shut down the world in 2 weeks. I mean, it was like the flip of a switch, really. That it's got to be faster than that. We need a snappier response. And I almost wonder if that's the feedback they're getting is from some of their demonic higher ups who maybe are saying, look, we got to have the screws tightened just a little bit more, and it needs to happen fast. You notice that too. It's got to happen fast. We need to have this in place. So May 2024, we have something to look out for. So stay tuned to our broadcasts, because certainly when May 2024 rolls around and they're going to be deliberating this type of a thing, I'll be covering it here on Fireside. Yeah, that's a guarantee, because it directly impacts you just on a basic level. But as Christians, this is part of that coming together and part of the world being forced under one governance, whether you like it or not. That's what's going to happen. Prophecy, God doesn't lie. God has given us prophecy, said very blatantly, this is what's going to happen, that the powers of the world are going to give themselves over to the beast. They're going to be ruled in that capacity. And we have to know where the gears are turning and what is going to happen. Not so we can panic about it, not so we can live a hysterical life and come off like lunatics, but so that we can be knowledgeable, so that we can say, I trust the Bible because God's word is true, but also because, just look out in the world. I see it playing out right in front of me. This is what was promised. And just to conclude on this little subject, this is why there was a delay, by the way, in tonight's broadcast. It's because I had to go through and put together this cut of clips. It's not even as big as I could have made it. I was just kind of on a time crunch because, like I said, I was so sure. I was like, oh, it's there. I'll just look it up and I'll nab it. And it wasn't there. I go, what? Okay, I got to put one together. So I put this together, and this is going to directly address that phrase of the evening, right, Brad? that thing that raised your eyebrows to begin with.
And this don't go nowhere, because this isn't the last clip of the show. We get a whole nother topic.
No. This is the segment. We're gonna this World Health Organization segment. So,
all right,
let's roll the tape.
We do need more money, but we don't just need more money for vaccines for children eventually. We need more money to plan for the second pandemic. There's going to be another pandemic. We have to think ahead.
The cost of being ready for the next pandemic is not super large. It's not like climate change where, 10 trillion, 20 trillion, these are big numbers. Global surveillance capability would cost like $1 billion a year. The R&D that we need to do to get magic vaccines and diagnostics and therapeutics, that's less than 100 billion over the next decade. So, if we're rational, yes, the next time we'll catch it early, and it won't go global like it did this time.
There will be another pandemic. That is a certainty. Not only that, there will be other reasons to invoke health or danger as a cause for a potential lockdown.
So I don't mean to be pessimistic about it, but I really think we've got to keep reminding ourselves that, we don't know when the next outbreak is going to be. It could be a year from now, it could be 30 years from now, but we still have to be perpetually prepared.
During the pandemic, people are spending more of their waking hours at home, stress testing houses everywhere, and causing people to reassess what they need from their home.
Interestingly enough, the number one definition of what home means to consumers is safety. So we designed a vestibule. We outfitted it with a glass pocket door to sort of shut off the space from the shared space of the home. So you could actually greet someone at the door, but they didn't need to come through to the rest of the shared space of the home. I call it the room of emotional requirement. We realized that during the pandemic, and the consumer research really points to the fact that there's no escape from all these people that you love so much, but what if we really prioritize health front and center for the occupants of the home?
Joining us now is a professor of history at Columbia University, Simon Schama. He is the author of the new book out tomorrow entitled Foreign Bodies, Pandemics, Vaccines, and the Health of Nations.
Ultimately, it comes down to an issue of persuasion. Humans are also barely evolved creatures, basketfuls of paranoia, suspicion, conspiracy theories, and cynicism. It's crucially has to exactly to say it's a kind of mobilization of well-intentioned, knowledgeable people to persuade those who don't have the time to do epidemiological homework to actually safely look after their families and themselves.
If we do not make the changes that must be made, then who will? And if we do not make them now, and when? When the next pandemic comes knocking, and it will, we must be ready to answer decisively, collectively, and equitably.
Wow. And it will.
So there you have it. That is that's the little cut that I was putting together. That took me a little bit of time. So you got yourselves a Strange Normal Fireside original compilation with that one. So you saw it here first. Let us know if it pops up anywhere else. But yeah, I wanted to put that together because, and like I said, I could have gone on, really. I mean, if I had enough time, I could have extended that out to a good 5-6 minutes of just again and again and again talking about how this will happen, it's gonna happen, this next one. And some are a little more coy about it. Some are a little more, I don't know if it's next year or if it's gonna be in 30 years from now, but it's coming. Okay, yeah. This is from the guy who originally, before everything broke out, Dr. Fauci. I think he's really just it's kind of an insult to real medical doctors just to call him a doctor after all the nasty stuff that's come out about him. Mr. Fauci. Mr. Fauci was the first to really predict that there was going to be this pandemic in the first place. When Donald Trump took the presidency, he went on air and he said that Donald Trump will definitely have to face a pandemic within his presidency. It's definitely going to happen. And now you see he's almost gotten this reputation, so he's got to be a little more coy about it. Oh, it could be the next year, it could be the next 30 years, but everyone else is saying the next pandemic, and it's right around the corner, and we have to be ready for it, and we need legislation to deal with it. So take that for what it's worth. But that's where we're headed. Don't be surprised. Don't be too comfortable. Again, this broadcast, it's not meant to necessarily upset you, but maybe it is a little bit to shake you. Because when we look at these types of events that are happening all around us, we should know that we can't be too comfortable on this earth. That just because it happened once and they say it's over, doesn't mean they're not planning to rev it right back up again. So just be prepared. And the ultimate form of preparedness you can have is through that relationship with God. Again, that's what we want to hammer home at. Mm-hmm. Brad, do you have anything to say about the cut, or any of those characters jump out at you? Anything as a real estate guy, what did you think about the homes being
renovated? I thought that looked like
that one in. And for you, because I know you're into renovations too.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was thinking about. It's like, oh, that's a pretty good. I'm going to add that to my. Oh, I like that little safe room they have there. I mean, that little room that has a little bookcase that opens like that. I was like, I'm going to make a secret passageway in my house too. That's kind of neat. But I think they were using it as a. Hey, you can block yourself out from any viruses. You know what amazes me about that though, Matthew?
Maybe I did. Maybe you didn't catch that specifically, though. That room was not necessarily to protect you and your family from a virus. It was to allow you to lock yourself behind the bookcase to get away from your family. That's what the escape room.
Wait, all these people that you love so much. But what if we really prioritize the health
Rewind it. Yeah.
Let me just skip through this real quick.
Listen to what she says. Yeah. It's worth listening to.
Was it back
there? You guys
there?
didn't catch that.
Let me go back.
It's past this one. Yeah. It's right here. You're good. You're good right here.
I'm back up just a little bit. All right there. Oh, hey. Here we go.
Oh, hey.
Play.
Door to sort of shut off the space from the shared space of the home. So you could actually greet someone at the door, but they didn't need to come through to the rest of the shared space.
But okay, so this is cool.
Here it is.
Okay, let me go back. I'll go back to
By
that.
the way, I have to hold on. I was gonna say sorry. I was going to say that. Did you notice how it said "Oh hey"? It didn't say "welcome" because you are not welcome in their home. It's just there's a glass wall that you're supposed to drop off.
Okay.
You're supposed to drop off the Uber Eats in, and it's "Oh hey," so we can stand on the other side of our glass barricade and just
hey. Okay. So this is the bookshelf though that opens into the. You don't know if anybody's there because they can go back behind here. Who has a bedroom this big that they can turn their entire half a bedroom into a secret safe room? I think that's hilarious. Number one, but look at this! Wow, I mean
it's
you
like
have.
A den. It's a full-on den.
This
den is to get away from your family. It's really not practical either. Honestly, if I had something like a safe room, so if I had the ability to do something like this, my safe room would be like the canned food on the shelves. It would be, some protection. It would be really practical stuff. You go in there and it's like a little, like a comfy, cozy little a nook. I'm just gonna snuggle up. Reminds me of my dorm back in college. It's just so cozy to be in here.
Well, it's also it's not windproof, and so what I'm thinking about is sickness, right? Well, if we go back to that one picture of this door right here, this is an interesting idea. But hey, look at that gap down there. See that gap? I wish you could see my cursor, but at the very bottom of the screen, you still have.
Yeah.
You still have a gap
between the floor and the.
So think about this. This. Let me pick a point here. Have you ever sat in your car? You sit in your car, windows are rolled up, and you're sitting there, and maybe it doesn't happen as much today, but one time I smelled bubble gum, and I was like, why do I smell bubble gum? This is such a weird smell. And I look up, and the car in front of me has billows of smoke, looked like smoke, coming out of it. And they were vaping. And so I was thinking to myself, how I can smell bubble gum? So I rolled down my window, and yeah, sure enough, every time they breathed out, I could smell their bubble gum from their breath. And I thought, if this is possible, that I can smell their breath, how many other breaths am I smelling from sitting here at this stoplight? And what if one of them or two of them had some kind of disease? Is my mask really going to help? Because I can still smell bubble gum. If I can smell bubble gum, the virus is smaller than bubble gum. And so I thought, how is this going to help? You still have that stuff that you're still venting the room. And so it's just that we can't, I don't know. I think we have a harder time with this than anything else. And I don't think this is completely thought through. Anyway, go ahead.
It's on the boxes when you would buy the masks. This will not prevent the transmission of COVID-19. It's on the boxes. And aside from that, you're talking about this little gap in the door. There's a precedent for this, because I remember going to a cashier and they would just have in front of them, they're not inside of a box. It's not an enclosed ventilated thing, just a plexiglass little barrier right here that you could reach around with your other arm and just touch the person if you wanted to. But you just have this little piece of plastic or whatever in front. And it's, okay, yeah, this is it. So that is the precedent for it because, it's based off of that science, I guess, right? Like we could trust that. Whoever the geniuses were that put that in place, I wonder if they held, massive amounts of stock in the companies that were selling all of this preventive stuff. I mean, I can't, I haven't looked into it myself, but I wouldn't be very surprised to know that people were just making obscene amounts of money selling snake oil. The equivalent of snake oil to people who were desperate and afraid. It's like I have sympathy for the people who went through it and really were shaken up by it because it was scary what they were putting out and what they were saying. And it was really like at any moment, a fifth of the people I know are going to die. Like at the end of this, I'm losing friends. I'm losing family. And that's not to say that some people didn't lose friends and family. I know that happened. Mm-hmm. But the way that it was being portrayed was like, you are going to experience the bubonic plague. Like it's going to be that level of sickness where if you survive, you're going to have lifelong complications. All of you, every single person is going to be like scarred by this. And that really isn't how.
I'm not going to discount. It was a terrible flu. I had it the first time. My goodness, it was awful. I mean, I my wife and I both had it at the same time. We're just in bed, and I remember times I was laying on the floor of the master bathroom, just thinking, I can't go on. I mean, it was awful. I mean, I'm not playing that up, but at the same time, and my mother-in-law was hospitalized. We weren't sure what was going to happen. And so it was definitely a terrible thing. And I hate to know what's going to come next if they actually figure out how to do these biowarfare. Well, I mean, I hate to say it that way, but I think this thing was part of war. I truly do. And I think it got out of hand. That's my personal opinion. Nothing to back that up.
In that first article that we read about the UN and they're looking at the Gaza crisis, one of the things that they had mentioned, and I had kind of accentuated it in my reading of that article, was saying that there were potential diseases that could come out of this war zone. And I don't know. They could be talking about how the people are living in unsanitary conditions. Sure, so it's like a regional, localized type of a sickness. But, the days we're living in, I can't be too sure of what anyone is saying, putting out. But that's the story. That's the story with the Who drama. But now now we'll get to our thumbnail story.
All right.
Because as I said, I saw that you posted like a really creepy picture of the Pope. Man.
Wasn't
really
that great?
Creepy picture.
I all my thumbnails.
Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you go ahead. I want to hear about it because this thing is. I'm looking at it now. He's like eating beads. Oh man, he's like really creepy.
So all
like
my thumbnails
one I've seen.
come from Midjourney. And I'm experimenting with other ones too. DALL-E 3 is pretty good. Midjourney is pretty dark, and so we've done a lot of and we're trying to make it a little more appealing to lighter thumbnails, but right now this one was it really caught my attention. And what I put in was combine the Pope's headshot with a syringe and Israel Blue Star logo, AR 16:9. That means turn the aspect ratio to 16:9. But this is nothing like what I said. But I was like, okay, that works. All right, let's use this one. It never is what I expect it to be. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's definitely a creepy shot. But I was hoping to do something a little more medical. But, oh well.
Right. Hey, no problem. Yeah, it's funny you're saying that because I see I can see the program that Brad uses to make the thumbnails. And the other night when he posted the most recent video, not broadcast, but the video, there's the New York Times witchcraft article. If you haven't seen it yet, it's in a video format. It's very accessible, very shareable. If you like this show, if you want to help us get to some more subscribers, because we're getting really close to 10,000, by the way. And I think we're going to do it by the end of the year. I really do believe we will hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. That being said, if you want to help us get there, share those short form videos that we're putting together, because it's going to bring people in who wouldn't necessarily want to sit down and watch 2 hours because they don't know the broadcast. They don't know. I mean, it's an investment. At this point, you know what you're getting into. You love it. You're here. You're watching the broadcast, of course. But we have an audience that is yet to be reached. And these are, I believe, important messages that people should be exposed to. And we cover topics on this show that I hope you're not just seeing other people cover. I know we went over Disney with Wish recently, too. That's another video. Feel free to watch that, share that. But we came at it from an angle of the political wokeness that they were having an issue with, and showing that the mainstream world, the issue they're taking with it is not that it's against God, it's against their political ideals. So, that's what we're doing here. We're trying to create a content and stuff that you can share out that hopefully people haven't seen normally. So just do that if you'd like to.
Yeah, and I want to acknowledge Matthew. He's been an amazing editor. He's not you've not had any experience in editing. You've picked up editing really fast. And so he's been doing all our short clips. Sorry, I cut you off.
I started editing a week and a half ago.
Yeah, so he's putting together those clips, and they look fantastic. He's doing all the little animations in there, and they put them together. I'm not teaching him this. You go on YouTube. This is a testament of how amazing it is to just be in this generation of being able to learn anything everywhere. And you're picking it up well, too. So I want to acknowledge... Sorry, what?
Oh, I was just going to say thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure. Liz Cruz, thank you so much for your super chat. She says hit that like button, subscribe, and share. Share the message. You never know how many stars you could have added to your heavenly crown. That's exactly right, and we appreciate your super chat. That's how we continue this show right now. And I also want to say we are pushing towards 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It looks like we will hit that, but we still got like 3 today to do. And with your help, we've been going up to roughly 7 to 10 a day. So we're probably going to hit that before Christmas, we're hoping. So push, tell your friends. Yeah, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your 42 cousins. We need to get this out. We need to have everyone know about this, especially because this is important information. And if you want to be a part of that daily, join the Discord. You can do that through patreon.com/strangenormal. Patreon.com/strangenormal. And for the cost of one sit-down restaurant a month, that's all it costs. You can be a part of the Discord too.
Not true anymore. It was true. It was true 2 years ago when he started saying that. It is the cost now of a drive-through meal. That's what it is.
And right now,
a drive-through meal and a cup of coffee, and you are there, and possibly even over the limit for how much it costs to be a part of the Discord.
It's less. I mean, we even discounted it for just this month, 25% discount. So, and you can keep that for as long as you have the subscription. And join us. It's not like a subscription like Netflix. This is something that you're partnering with us to spread the gospel, spread the truth, and be a part of a tight-knit community of just under 100 people that are just pushing and are passionate about this. So join the Discord. Discord is patreon.com/strangenormal. We're looking forward to chatting with you. Matthew, we have one last topic. What do you got for us?
We do, and as I said, this is the thumbnail bait, everybody. If you clicked on us for the thumbnail, I've got it right here. Go ahead, pull up the article.
Boom.
Brad, don't leave them in suspense any longer. This is out of the BBC, and this is Pope Francis calls for end to fossil fuels at COP28 in Dubai. Just again, preaching out of that good book, Pope Francis. Remember? Sorry. Do you remember in Luke when Jesus, he really hammered it home about fossil fuels and how fossil fuels had to end before he would return, in his second coming. You remember that?
This isn't the gospel of Jesus. This is UFOlogy is what this is. I hate to say it that way, but that's exactly what's going on here, because it's interesting that the Pope's preaching about how environment is so important. And what else did we learn? Just last episode, there were two things that every UFO experience, what people are saying that is very common. Actually, three things, but the two main things they brought out, I brought one more thing, was how we got to get rid of fossil fuels, and we have to get rid of our nuclear weapons. And the third thing is Jesus isn't who he says he is. And look, the Pope is preaching one of those messages. Hey, we got to get rid of fossil fuels. Interesting. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Oh, I think it is. I definitely think it is. He has a lot of these pontifical decrees, and then you just see people, the leaders of the world, scrambling to try to make it happen, or at least give the appearance that they're trying to make it happen, because you never even know. I mean, they make a lot of fuss about this type of a thing, but I think it just goes to show it's like there's a bit of a lockstep going on here. Let's read some of the article.
But before we do, grab that super chat.
Oh, yeah, we do have a super chat here from Sherry Redberg, donating and saying, share and like. And I like that. Short and sweet, but that is the message. You share it and you like it. Please do. I mean, that really is a huge way that you can help us out.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, Elvis, let's continue.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Where's my article, Brad?
That's what you were waiting on. Okay.
The Pope threw his weight behind calls for an end to fossil fuels in a message delivered here at COP28. In a wide-ranging statement, Pope Francis called for an end to coal, oil, and gas, as well as lifestyle changes to save the planet. He also asked for debt forgiveness for poorer countries hit by climate change. As the pontiff was unable to attend the Dubai summit in person because of illness, his speech was read by Vatican Secretary of State Cardinal Parolin. With a long-standing interest in climate issues, Pope Francis was set to make history by becoming the first pope to address the Conference of the Parties, or COP as it is known. However, the 86-year-old leader of the Catholic Church was forced to cancel his trip as he is still recovering from flu and inflammation of his lungs. In his place, Cardinal Pietro Parolin delivered a strong statement on the impacts that climate change was having on the world and what global leaders needed to do to tackle the issue. At its heart was the message that climate change signals the need for major political change. COP28 must be a turning point, the pontiff said. What do you think of that?
You tell me. That's something.
Well, here is, again, the Pope stepping in to a political arena, right? You'd think of, most people, they think of the Pope and it's like, oh yeah, the leader of the Catholic Church or whatever. But now he is able to address these global leaders and call for major political change. It's just like in the Middle Ages, where the papacy wielded this dominant power. The Pope had in his control the ability to declare peace between two nations. He could declare war between two nations, or at least give the go-ahead to have war. He could call a crusade. He could muster the armies of Europe and send them all the way to the Middle East. Conveniently, too, I always think if they wanted to overthrow the Pope and actually have some type of a military uprising against him, what better way is there than to say, I, as the vicar of Christ, representative of God, and even back in those times, they were so bold to call the Pope God on earth, would say, there's a crusade. You got to retake the Holy Land. Get all your best knights together, all of the warriors you have, and ship them out across to the Middle East. And then they have to station themselves there and try to keep control. I think that those crusades were a major power play. In addition to some of the plunder that was offered there. We could go into the crusades. It's a whole other thing. But it was a demonstration of the political power that the papacy once wielded. And since had lost, yet now, in these last day times, we see that the Pope is recovering that political power, and he's wielding it. That should alarm anybody who's familiar with end-time deceptions. I'm going to let you know my interpretation, having read over specifically Revelation and Daniel. In Daniel, we have beasts, and they are defined as kingdoms. They're defined as political powers on the earth. In Revelation, you have a beast, the beast, as a matter of fact, and it's an amalgamation. It's a mishmash of the four beasts that Daniel had seen in his own time.
Are you going to 13?
I believe. I mean, you can read the scripture if you'd like. I don't have it in front of me.
I thought you were going to talk about the deadly the healing of the wound.
Oh, I am. I am going to talk about that. I am, because that beast once had all of this power over the world, but then there was a deadly wound, and we see that the papacies went away back when Berthier, one of Napoleon's generals, marched in and took the power away from the Pope, and the Pope was led away, and it seemed that the Papal States were disbanded and that the papacy had lost all of its powers, but it recovered from that when, I believe it was Mussolini, was the one who fully reinstated the Papal States and gave that power back over. That, from how I can interpret reading scripture, that is a mortal wound, a seemingly mortal wound too. Bible is clear on that. A seemingly mortal wound. It seemed that it was going to die, but it was healed, and now the world wonders after the beast. I don't think the beast is necessarily one person, and I believe that simply because the Bible has defined beasts for me and says that they are kingdoms, political powers. Vatican City is the smallest country on the face of the earth. The Pope is a sovereign king of Vatican City. It is a monarchy. It's an elected monarchy, not necessarily passed down through bloodlines, but they elect a king, and that king is the Pope. I believe when we are looking at the beast of Revelation, we are looking at the papacy, and a lot of the reformers felt the exact same way. I feel the same way today. I don't think it's any different. Brad, I think maybe you agree with me on that point.
I do. I love it hearing it from you, because you have been in the thick of it your whole life, and so it's I have understood that my whole life, but you learned it, and so sometimes learning it is the hardest part, and because you have to figure it out for yourself. You can't just say, "Oh, my parents believe that," and that's fantastic. You studied that. That's really interesting. Yeah, I believe that. I believe that too.
Yeah, well, it's a matter of think about all of the because I am a former Catholic. Think about all of the reformers. They were involved in the Catholic Church. I mean, you had to be. It had a monopoly on Christianity. If you're going to be a Christian, well, there's only one brand of Christian for me to be. There's only one understanding I can have, and that's the understanding that's passed down to me through the Church's traditions, through their catechisms, through papal decrees. This is what the faith means to me. But there were people who I believe they had a strong enough desire to walk with God, and they prayed earnestly enough to where God lifted those scales from their eyes and they could see clearly, and they understood, wow, this is bigger. At first, it's a reformation, right? A reformation means they want to go in and they want to change things around. It's not necessarily we need to get rid of the papacy, we need to get rid of the Catholic Church. It just needs to be reformed. It needs to come in line with the scriptures, which they could see clearly what they're doing is not in line with the scriptures. Once they had an understanding that, oh, this isn't like an accidental misunderstanding where you've misinterpreted the scriptures, you're blatantly ignoring them and you hate God's decrees, and you want to wield the power of God here on earth. Okay, easy enough. This is Antichrist. And there's a whole, I mean, I think it's been provided on the Discord before, but there is a whole exhaustive chart of the reformers throughout the ages. It goes through probably like 300 years of prominent reformers, and they all say that the beast of Revelation is the papacy, it's the Pope, it's the Roman Catholic Church as an organization. You just see it again and again. It's really outstanding. I think it's something that, if that's a new idea for you, then just study the Bible, please.
Yeah.
That's my argument. If you're wondering what the beast is all about, look in the Bible where you see beasts before. And I believe that Daniel holds the key. You can really look at it as Revelation as a lock and Daniel as the key. Once you just join those books together, you use the definitions that were provided in Daniel, and you apply them to Revelation, it will read much more clearly for you. I say that as someone who used to read Revelation, and it would just go in one ear and go out the other, and my head would be spinning because I had no idea what was going on. Mm-hmm. And now I feel I can read through it, and there are still obviously some parts that are more mysterious to me that I can't grasp fully, but I will say this, it reads a lot more clearly than it ever did before.
Yeah.
By applying that principle.
100%. There's only two real interpretations of who the Antichrist is in the Bible, and that is one that's clearly stated, like you said, is the Pope. There, it's very obvious when you really dig into the many aspects of it. And then there is the one the Catholic Church came up with. So because they were being stated as as rightly so, this looks a lot like the Catholic Church, doesn't it? Well, let's analyze this a little bit more and come up with something different. And so there's only two interpretations, and so you have obviously a lot of Protestants protesting the church, and it came out of that movement, and now you got a bunch of Protestant movement inside the U.S. that is kind of looking after the Pope with lovey-dovey eyes now. I like to call them the apostate Protestants because they've lost what they normally... They were at one time Protestant. And so we see that happening right now. Even with Kenneth Copeland. He's like, well, let's bring him back. Put him on the screen. Remember that?
Yeah, I do remember Kenneth Copeland doing that. I do remember a number of other people who are in charge of the mega churches and the mega congregations doing just that. And I think that we'll continue to see people either subtly nudging towards the Pope or just running, like you said, running at him with open arms and totally embracing him as the spiritual figurehead. Mm-hmm. So I see here in the chat, because I glanced at it, we have a M. St. G says, I don't doubt the Pope, but wonder about the king as well. What are your thoughts? And they also asked again, how do you see the king's role, Matthew? And then it's the King Richard and the Pope. What king exactly is being referred to here? Is there... and I'm sorry if this is like an obvious question that is just going over my head because I'm focused on another point or another topic right now. Charles. Oh, King Charles. You're talking about the United... Okay, so that is an interesting point. I think that King Charles, he has portrayed himself in a statue before as the Antichrist. Super weird. I don't know if you've heard of that, Bradley.
No.
But
is this a recent thing? Because
no, I mean, it's not extremely recent, but it's something that he's done before, and that's why this person is asking about the Pope. Well, the interesting thing is that it's all about the crown, and if you actually go through historical records talking about allegiances to the crown, it's not allegiance to the king, it's the crown, and the crown is specifically owned by the Vatican. So that, and I could get into that as a whole nother topic, but I do think that the King Charles, King of England, and all the other provinces that are ascribed to him, don't want to cheat him out of any, but I think that he is subservient to the Pope, yes. But I do think he could be a major player in the end time deception, because it describes 10 kingdoms or 10 kings that will have power with the beast, and that he could possibly be one of those people, one of those figureheads that shares in the power. But I think ultimately he will answer to the beast. I don't think he himself is the beast. Even if he is an antichrist, he is not the antichrist. I hope that kind of clears that up.
I thought there was a.
Thank you. That's a great question.
The 10. You talking about the 10, like the Ostrogoths and stuff? What are you talking about? The 10?
No. There's actually in Revelation it talks about there are 10 that rule with. Oh,
you're not talking about the horns.
10 kings.
You're talking about
that rule. Yeah. Sorry, folks. This is a little bit. I think it's Revelation 17, 12. The 10 horns, right? Because I know what you're referring to, but I'm referring to this, which I don't.
I gotcha.
I don't know if anyone has like concrete theology on this. Personally, the way that I work, folks, is I just study Scripture, and I really do pray that the Holy Spirit helps and gives interpretation that way. I'm going to be totally straight up with you when something is not clear to me, and this is something that is not clear to me. But in Revelation 17. 12 through 14. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet. So that would be in the time that John is receiving the revelation. But receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. So for a short period of time, that happens. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. Amen. That is what I'm referring to when I say that perhaps King Charles or that kingdom could be represented there. I don't have a solid answer. So I think, once again,
this is something.
Gotta be honest.
Yeah.
Right?
We're going to reveal more about this, and I got as soon as we get to it, hopefully this year. We can get our studio back up and running, and I can get Starfall 2. We're going to do a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, we're going to show what's going on in the current hour, and we're going to show what's coming. And part of that is understanding Revelation 13. Let the reader understand. So let's reveal that later on, because I don't think we even covered that topic yet on this channel. It's going to be good.
Yet. No, we'll get there. Thank you, though. Good. Thank you for stimulating the conversation. Also, I want to point out, again, Tiny Tabernacle says the 10 is likely symbolic of being the number meaning all or universal, and not literally 10. Like the 10 Commandments are universal or all-encompassing. Yeah, I mean, that honestly, it's one of those things. Like I said, I don't have solid theology on this, but I could see that as being a plausible thing, a symbolic. There are other numbers in Revelation that are symbolic, I believe. So that could be the case.
Yeah. Do you have?
We'll continue reading the Pope article.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, because I do have a little more material for us here tonight. Let's get through it. Let's just power through, and then we'll talk to the chat. Yes, this is the next part. Okay. The ecological transition to save the world could be done by embracing renewable energy, the elimination of fossil fuels, and the education and lifestyles that are less dependent. There has been a growing political momentum at this gathering for a definitive statement on the future use of coal, oil, and gas, the main sources of warming gases that are harming our planet. The president of COP28, Sultan Al-Jaber, has said the phase-out of these fuels is inevitable, although the oil company he runs has embarked on a major expansion of production. See, again, that's why I said earlier, they kind of talk out of two sides of their mouth, because on one hand it's, oh, we've got to do this, we've got to lower, essentially your standard of living, while they have the best standard of living that anyone has had, possibly in the history of humanity. Maybe the antediluvian world looked a little more advanced than this. We don't know for sure, but from where I'm standing and what I know definitively, they are living high on their horses. And owning these major companies. Also, I just want to point out, too, the main sources of the warming gases that are harming our planet. Every year, annually, 9 times as many people die from the cold than they do of the heat. So I just want to say, if they're going to be restricting coal, oil, and gas, it's not just about running vehicles around the earth. It is about keeping people's homes warm. And that happened in Europe, actually, with the pipeline going on. I remember people were just saying that their heating bills were going through the roof and it was becoming very expensive to keep their homes warm. If anybody in the chat, we'll talk about that in a little bit. If anybody is watching us in Europe right now or has family in Europe that wants to share a bit about that. But I know that that's where, like, even the flower pot, have you seen this flower pot and the candle? Keep yourself warm. It like heats the room. It's just like a nice little inexpensive way to keep yourself warm. But that's what people were doing, essentially creating a little economically cheap space heater because it was just too expensive to use to turn on your thermostat.
I've seen that TikTok or reel, and I was like,
I've seen it everywhere, and it's like, maybe we'll do that. We'll test it. Why don't we? Like, we can fact check too.
Yeah.
So there you go. This is content for you to look forward to.
Seems weird, but
Brad,
yeah.
I'll make a trip down to you when it gets a little colder, and we'll shut the heat off in your house.
What?
Well, we can't do it in my place because it would be cruel.
If you shut the heat off, then you might go to 40 below.
Well, we'll have our flower pot. So
let's move on.
Next slide, please. The Pope's statement criticized efforts to shift the blame for the ecological and climate crisis to the poor and high birth rates. He also singled out the biggest carbon-emitting countries who were responsible for deeply troubling ecological debt. Oh boy. It would only be fair, he said, that these countries wipe out the financial debts of poor nations because of their excessive use of fossil fuels. The Pope's message is very well timed as we move into discussions on a global stocktake at COP28, said Neil Thorns from Catholic International Development Charity CAFD. These discussions must be a time for leaders to heed his call, not for a particular change, but a new way of making progress together, and for choosing a culture of life over a culture of death.
Okay.
There's a lot of interesting points, I think, in this last. Well, hold on, buddy.
Oh, I thought you said last, and I was like on it.
No. There's a lot. There's a lot of interesting points coming out of this last piece of the article here, which I guess has gone away, so I won't be reviewing that.
I'm going to get you access to this thing so you can click your own buttons, buddy.
I would love it. That would be awesome. Let's see. So I just want to point out here, first of all, troubling ecological debt. That's like, I see this thrown around a lot. I don't know who is going to be tallying this and what measures are going to be taken to know. It's all about that carbon footprint, right? That's what he's saying when it says stock take. The global stock take is when they all get together and they tally up who is producing the most carbon emissions. And then everybody gets a slap on the wrist, and then they all go home and nothing changes for another year. Then they do it again. This is COP. This is over and over. But this final quote just stands out to me, that these discussions must be a time for leaders to heed his call. To heed his call, heed the Pope's call, not for a particular change, not just in one aspect, but a new way of making progress together, and for choosing a culture of life over a culture of death. And I read that and I thought the Bible has something to say about making a choice between life and death. So I pulled it up and I made a slide, and I'm going to share it here on air tonight.
Ready?
Yes, I am.
Here we
Get
go.
that slide up on the screen. Here it is. We got it. This is coming out of Deuteronomy. This is Deuteronomy 30:15 through 18. And this is Moses speaking. It's like one of the last speeches that he gave to the Israelites before his death. See, I have set before thee this day life and good, and death and evil. In that I command thee this day to love the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, that thou mayest live and multiply, and the Lord thy God shall bless thee in the land whither thou goest to possess it. But if thine heart turn away, so that thou wilt not hear, but shall be drawn away, and worship other gods, and serve them, I denounce unto you this day that ye shall surely perish, and that ye shall not prolong your days upon the land, whither thou passest over Jordan to go to possess it. So we have on one hand this guy who's writing for a Catholic publication, I'm sorry to do this to you, Brad, but I would like to have the scripture up. Thank you. On one hand, you have him saying that it's time to heed the call of the Pope and to follow in his ways, when we see very clearly here the Bible telling us that we are to love the Lord our God and to walk in his ways and keep his commandments and his statutes and judgments. Those haven't gone away. God is eternal. He's the living God. It's not like this happened one time, it was said and it was applicable to a singular generation. No, this is for you and me. This is for our children. This is for our grandchildren. Should the world continue on to that point, or maybe you have grandchildren now and you're watching. You've been blessed. This is something that we need to take stock of. When we hear people saying that we need to give our obedience over to a man, especially a man who sits on a gilded throne, saying that I'm sitting on the throne of Peter and I'm the representative of Jesus Christ on earth. No, don't listen to that guy. Listen directly to God. Listen to the commands. There is also, I want to tie this in with a piece of scripture from John, because these are the words of Jesus Christ. They're beautiful, and I think they bear hearing with this topic. And if you'll just go to the next slide, please, Brad.
There you go.
Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that heareth my word and believeth on him that sent me hath everlasting life, and shall not come into condemnation, but is passed from death unto life. Jesus is making it clear that life and death, it's dependent on your relationship with him. It's dependent on your relationship with the Father. It's not a matter of changing our culture from a culture of death to a culture of life. This is about a choice, strictly a choice between life and death. Are you going to perish?
Yeah.
Or are you going to receive everlasting life through Jesus Christ? This is the choice for you tonight. This is that prize I was talking about that we are racing towards. And really, it's up to us to take it to God in prayer and be delivered from this mess that we're in, and ultimately inherit eternal life, a kingdom with no sorrow, no worries, no fear, no pain, and to have fellowship with one another as well for all time. And I love you all. I appreciate you all. Truly, thank you for watching this broadcast out, sticking with us through the technical difficulties that we've had. But this is what it's all about. Just want to point you right back to the Word, point you back to the one that's greater than I am. That, if you think anything here that Brad or I said is good, then believe me, you're going to love what Jesus has to say. So pick up his word, study it today, and really surrender your life to Christ. And that's my prayer for you. That is.
Absolute. Thank you, Matthew. Wow, we got a lot going on, and we're gonna have a lot more happening too. We got lots of stuff happening in this crazy UAP stuff that's happening right now, and that's gonna be Sunday night. So stick around. This month is gonna be a very interesting one, and they've assured us that next year is gonna be interesting as well. So you're gonna want to hit that subscribe button. You're going to want to tell more people about this thing, and I am going to put myself back on the screen here. Matthew,
go ahead. Feel free.
You want to be bigger this time?
I mean, I can be if you want me to be. I just feel like it's because of the resolution, because it's like stretched. I'm like stretched out a little bit.
Yeah.
So it feels weird. It feels weird. You could do it if you want.
That's okay. Care. So you want to give our outro? You want to say the prayer?
Yeah, I can say a prayer. Yeah, if that's yeah. Let's do that. Okay. Father in heaven, thank you so much for bringing us together another week, another opportunity to look at some of the things that are happening in the world and just compare it to the Word, looking at prophecy and seeing how it matches up. You're such a loving, good, faithful God. We want to give you the love and the faithfulness, just that loyalty and dependence, really, that you deserve. Because sometimes I feel our offerings are they're always just so much less than you deserve. So please help to increase the fruit that we produce, and let us be the ones that bear that really good fruit. And just, I pray for everybody in the audience going out, and let them really just have a good, strong relationship with you here in these coming days, because we need you now more than ever. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. It's all you.
All right. Well, this has been Fireside. Draw closer to God, and he will draw closer unto you. So stay nice and cozy. Draw closer to the fireside. Thank you. We love you. And good night.